Hi there, welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing well today. It's been a few weeks since Peachtober ended, so I thought we could have a little look through what I created for the art challenge. I used this Cardi Fatbook. It's 100% cotton with handmade paper, but it does tend to warp quite a lot at the beginning. I also used my Winsor & Newton inks, and I did mixed media for quite a lot of these, so you'll see that I used my Neocolors, I used gouache, I used quite a few different mediums. This is the title page. I wanted to just use inks for this because that was what most of the challenge was using. I love that the inks are really kind of pastel and blurry in the background. I think it's really pretty. I wasn't a fan of the lettering when I did it, but I think it's quite cute looking back on it now. Then on the first page I added a prompt list here. Really it was supposed to be on the other side, but I completely forgot, but I think it fits okay. The first prompt was bee, and I decided to take this one quite literally and just treat it like an introduction to the art challenge, so I drew a bee. One thing about this paper is that I cannot use masking fluid or masking tape in it because it does rip, so for this one I just had to try and keep all of the ink within the lines, and unfortunately a little bit went out, so I ended up adding this frame, but honestly I really love how it worked. I kind of winged a lot of it, but I really love this one. I really thought the yellow would go more vibrant than it did though. The second prompt is Cosmos, and for this one again I treated it as a little bit of a warm-up piece. I decided to do a galaxy. I added a lot of bright colours underneath and then filled the page with a lot of black and splatters on top, and I really love how this turned out. The star is something different to what I normally do. I really love painting galaxies, and if you've been following me for a while you might have seen that. I have quite a few of them on my imprint store because I just find them so fun to paint. This was a slight twist on it and I really like it. The third prompt is sweet, and for this one I decided to try and create a little bit of a character. So I've got this gal and she's got a lolly, but what I wanted the hair to look like a sweet wrapper, and I really hope that comes across because it was a fun idea that I come up with and I do like it. I used the Neocolors for the outline and I think the combination of the two really worked, but honestly the ink completely spread outside of the line, so I didn't have a lot of choice. I needed to add the Neocolors. The fourth prompt is grub, and for this one I decided to do a little bit of a fun pattern. I didn't want to paint the grub in too much detail because they're not very cute, so I decided to add these colourful spirals around the outside. Even though it's ink and ink is really bright, I do like that I was able to create such lovely neutral tones. I think this is the only one where I tried to create actual neutral tones with the ink. The next one is sprig, and I really struggled to come up with ideas for this, so I decided to do like a sprig of rosemary coming out of a cute little puppy's head. I'm not sure why, but I think it's cute. I like the line art style and I think the colours complement each other well. Starting the second week now, this is I really love this one, and I did this in about 10 minutes, maybe just over. I decided to wet the heart and then just drop the ink gradually into it, and honestly I really love how it turned out. One thing that I wasn't super happy with is the line around the outside. Because the ink spreads a little bit, it's just not very crisp, and obviously I couldn't use masking fluid. I did consider adding a highlight to the eye, but I do like the kind of loose style to it, and I feel like if I was going to add one solid highlight it might take away from that, because I love the blurry look to it and eyes are so fun to paint, so if I get the opportunity I will paint an eye. Okay, this next one is a little bit sad, I'm just gonna forewarn you. I really struggled to come up with ideas for this one. The prompt was crater, and I was thinking of doing like a smiley face in like a meteor hole or something, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't turn it into a character, so in the end I did word association, and I just thought I'm gonna take the opportunity to draw a cute little dinosaur. Okay, I lied. This is the start of the second week. The prompt was dream, and honestly the first thing that I thought of was like a pillow, a teddy bear, and then I decided to go into it a little bit and just do a dream combining the teddy bear, so I did like a teddy bear artist. I thought it would be really fun to add the coloured ink and then pop fine liner over the top, and I don't know, it's kind of cute. I think this one might grow on me as time goes by, but it was a very simple one. I wasn't really feeling this day, so I just did something simple. The next prompt is blue, and this was the same day. Again, it just didn't really go to plan. Because I couldn't use masking fluid, I tried to use a little bit of oil pastel to sort of form a resist, and it just didn't really work. I also remembered that negative space is kind of pointless with ink because it doesn't layer like watercolour does. I don't know how I completely forgot about that. I'm not a huge fan of it. Next we've got Citrus. For this one I decided to do a Citrus Boy. It doesn't have much contrast and it looks very subtle and you can't really tell the features apart from the citrus, but I do kind of like it in a way that it all just completely blends together and it's kind of hard to see what you're looking at. I decided to leave the background white because I just never do that and I quite like how the boy stands out. Next we've got Pencil. This one is a slightly crazy idea. I drew ants holding a pencil and I do think it's really quite cute. I used the coloured inks and as you can see it kind of went everywhere. I did wet on wet and it did blend quite a lot into everything. You can see the ants are a lot bigger than they were supposed to be, but I used my Nero colours to try and refine it and I think it's kind of cute. It's kind of a crazy idea though. The next one is Nest, and this one has a little bit of a backstory. Nest was used in Inktober last year, and I painted this. It's a cute little baby in a bird's nest. So as it's a year on, I decided to redraw the entire thing, but with the baby being older. I think I prefer the baby this time. I think it's a definite improvement, as long as you ignore like the legs and everything. But I do think the nest turned out better on the previous one. On this paper, it literally just blended together. The next prompt is Ship, and honestly I wasn't a huge fan of this one. I don't think it really went to plan. A lot of the ink just blended together so there wasn't much separation. I wanted it to be very abstract. I used the Nero colours and added slight patterns to try and create a little bit of separation, but I don't think it really went to plan. The final prompt of the second week is Garden, and I think this one turned out so cute. It was my first time trying gouache over ink and I really love how it turned out. I love that it looks like a really simple illustration and I think the ink background really contrasts well. I think I probably did the gouache a little bit too thick there. Going on to the third week now, we have Weather. For this one I tried to keep it really simple. My aim was to have quite a few simple pieces in this challenge so they'd be faster and easier and I'd be able to have a little bit of a break, finish a little bit earlier. This was one of them. I did a coloured ink background and then I just added the black ink over the top. I think it's still quite a cute design, but I don't think the black ink is as dark as I would have liked it to be. Maybe I added a little bit too much water. On the same day I also did Sidekick, and for this one it's a little bit of a pun. I decided to do a robin, but I don't think it actually looks like a robin in the slightest. I was trying to keep the ink that was underneath the robin because I didn't want to cover the entire thing in gouache, but the markings were completely wrong. So in the end, I think I just kind of painted a bird. The next day, I created Blush. I think this one is really cute. I like that I kept a lot of the ink there and it looks really flowy, but then I used just a little bit of gouache to try and get some definition. I think the hair is really well done. On this side, the curls are a lot better than that side. I think it was just difficult with the position of my hand. I think the lining on the eyes could definitely have been better, but I think it works really well on the ears that it's just like a hint of line work. The next prompt is Snooze, and for this one I decided to do a bedroom with an alarm clock that spells out no. It's a really subtle look. I love that it's just pink and blue, and I love that the line art is just a really subtle white. I think it works well. The next prompt is Candle, and this one I wasn't a huge fan of after I did it, and then I kept looking back at it, and honestly I look back now and I really like it. I don't know if you can see, but I actually added blue underneath the black, and the black is a lot cooler and I think that works really well. It contrasts so well with the candle. The candle probably could have been done better, but considering I just don't draw fire, I'm really happy with it. I then did Bulb, and for this one I did a light bulb with a landscape inside. It's definitely got an old school Tumblr vibe to it, which I love, and I also love the way that it's been blended on the inside. I'm really quite happy with this one. I think the ink and gouache combination really worked and I was just really feeling it at this point. I ended the third week with Slingshot, and for this one, rather than doing a actual slingshot, I decided to do a target instead. I couldn't think of any ideas based around Slingshot, so I thought this would be a little bit better. The location is actually based on a place in Skyrim. I had the idea in my mind, so I decided to go on the game and take a photo, but I turned this into an actual target. I just thought it would work a little bit better, and I added a little bit more colour just to make it match. Going into the fourth week, I started with Tunnel, and this one had quite a lot of iterations illustrations. Originally this was going to be red themed, but because of the previous page I ended up opting for a purple instead. I wanted to do a really simple theme and I didn't actually want to do the black around the outside, but again the ink kind of separated on the paper. The next prompt is message, and I really love how this one turned out. I decided to do a message in a bottle but keep it really simple. I just used this cobalt blue ink, and I also used a luminance pencil in ultramarine, and I think it really worked well. I love that it's just blue and white, and I love that it's simple, and this frame looks so different from anything else that I've done. I'm really happy with this one. The next prompt is wand, and for this one I was really struggling to come up with any ideas that weren't just a person holding a wand, so I decided to go for a wizard instead, and I did a bit of a wizard silhouette. I actually did yellow ink and then I left gaps and added the colour, and then I used a black neo colour over the top. And there is a part of me that still wants to colour in this yellow really loosely with neo colours, but I don't know if it would make it significantly worse, so I just left it like this. It's a really fun style and I just wanted to try something a little bit simple, fun, a little bit different. Going into 25, the prompt is coral. It was about this time that I realised I hadn't actually used the ink in the way that I'd planned to. I wanted to use the ink in a very flowy, loose way where all the colours blend together, and I hadn't really been doing that because of the separation. I decided to do it for this one and it did make quite a mess, and then I used the neo colours to try and refine some edges. I also did Ladybug on the same day. I did it in the same kind of style. I wanted it to be a similar style to my very first page where I did this face. You might have seen this video. If you haven't, I will leave it linked here and down below. I really loved how this face turned out. I did this in watercolour. I wanted to replicate that kind of style with ink. The ink spread a lot more than the watercolour and it created very lovely blends, but that wasn't exactly what I was going for. I wanted the lines to be a little bit harsher. I do really like the colours though. On the same day, I also did pond, and again, I tried the really loose style, but I don't think it really went to plan. I used blue and purple ink, and then I ended up adding a lot of gouache over the water because it did not look like water at all. It was that reflected, and you can just about see the underneath. I needed to make it look like water so it would actually look like a reflection, and the prompt was pond, so it needed to look like a pond. It was a mushroom and the bottom of a tree trunk, but because it's blue, I don't think a lot of that really shows. It's a little bit messy. For the second to last day, I started with the prompt chomp, and honestly this was supposed to be just a really cute crocodile. I was following a reference photo and I started adding all of the teeth, like every single tooth, and I realized this crocodile wasn't cute anymore. They have a lot of teeth and they're all really scary. I probably could have added some line art or a little bit more contrast to this piece, but there's something I kind of like about it being subtle. The next one is possibly my favorite. No, you know what? This one is my favourite in the entire challenge. I did black ink around the outside, going into blue and pink, and I sprayed some water as well at the end, which caused these lovely little bits of separation. I absolutely love this one so much, and I really hope you like it too. For me, the ratio of ink to gouache is exactly what I was looking for. I wanted all these pieces to be mostly ink with accents of a different medium. By the time you're seeing this, there will actually be prints of this one on my in-print store, so if you're interested, that's where that will be. For the final day, I started with the prompt moss, and for this one I think I went a little bit overboard, honestly. It was supposed to be kind of like a castle door with a little bit of foliage around the outside, and I just kind of went ham. There's a lot of green everywhere. It's just a little bit too much. The yellow background is ink and the gouache is on top, and the final prompt is spooky. For this one I did an ink background and drew some vampire lips on top. I don't have very much experience with gouache or lips, so it just didn't really go fantastic, but I think it gets the point across. And then I did a final end page, and I think this is so cute. I love to do an end page because when you're flipping through, I love that there's an actual end stop before you get into the rest of the sketchbook, which is literally like there's loads of pages left. For this challenge, the reason I ended up doing all my paintings on one side is because the ink actually bled through a lot of the pages like this. And that's the entire challenge. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed having a look through what I created for Peachtober this year. I would love to know if you've managed to complete an art challenge this October, and I'd also love to know if you've got any favourites of mine. I'd be really curious to find out what they are. I really hope you've enjoyed watching, and I would love if you could like and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and I'll see you on Thursday for a new video. Bye bye.